Antwan. I
Yes.
know him. First of all, y'all are going viral. That's number one. Y'all are going viral all over my Facebook. If Antwan and Jeremy, him and his husband, they are the owners and operators of Subway on
Yes.
Camp Creek Marketplace in Atlanta.
Yes.
So the point of the boss talks today is, I know when I met you, the first thing you said was, "Oh, we're about to own this Subway." I was like,
Right.
Wait, my coworkers." I'm like, no, no,
And I came in, it was like close to closing too. It was
yes.
like 4:30.
Minutes. First, I ain't gonna tell. I ain't gonna say we was mad about that, but it's okay. Y'all in almost closing, and I couldn't almost believe my ears when I have these gentlemen in front of me, same age as me, telling me they're about to own and operate a Subway.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were discussing before, everything hit during COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How was that? Because I know you were not. Don't nobody think about no pandemic.
Nowhere in our lifetime. I think that was a really hard process for both of us, just because we had literally just started the business. So with any business, when you start, you take on a lot of debt. And you really don't start making money. A lot of economists would say you don't start making money for that first year. So within that first month, we were still really running the business off of our personal money. Like, we weren't running the business off of any profit that we were making, because any profit that was being made was paying off immediate debt, not even a loan, but just immediate debt that we had to take on. So that was difficult, having to deal with that right when we came in. We got these new employees that we got excited that we're taking over this store. And then there's this pandemic where we're having to close our dining room. We're having to make all of these adjustments to how we operate. And we were just finally starting to create a good customer base. So customers were starting to consistently come in, notice that there was a different experience that they were getting, and notice that this was truly what we wanted it to be. Like, it was becoming kind of that neighborhood store. But we're in a good place now. But April was definitely a difficult month for us.
And that's definitely, what would they say? The devil trying to win.
Right. And that's what I kept thinking when it happened. I'm like, okay, God, what are you saying? Like, what's really going on? Like, what is the message that I'm supposed to learn out of this? And I feel like what we both learned going through that is that it forced us to learn quickly how to run a business. So whereas we would have loved the luxury to kind of take a few months, we had to immediately, within the first month and a half, learn how to make decisions that some business owners haven't had to operate in 30 years. We had to learn in 30 days. This is what you have to do to shrink your payroll. This is how you decrease your food product costs. This is how you keep your employees engaged so that you have people that can help you run this restaurant.
And all of that within a month. So pretty much it's as people say, it's like a blessing in disguise. You had to learn quickly how to operate. And of course, everything that you worked for. So what we're going to do to dig in, of course, we want to know your background. So one thing BAUCE Radio is, I want to know the story. I want to know the who, the what, the when, the how. How did everything come about? So just to get to know you personally, what were you doing previously before you became an owner operator?
So what I did previously, I'm still doing currently. It's multiple jobs out here. So I'm a psychotherapist. That's kind of what I am professionally. So I work in a hospital setting, but that's what I do, a therapist. So Subway is completely different. And then Jeremy, my husband and business partner, was a cake decorator prior to Subway, and he left that field, and now he's working with Subway full time, and I'm still working, doing the therapist thing on the side, but still working in the Subway as well.
Multiple streams of income.
You have to until you get to that point where you're ready to make that leap. You got to.
Now, how are you originally from Atlanta?
No, we're both from South Carolina, originally from Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. And
Mhm.
how long you been living in Georgia for? How was that transition coming in?
Since 2014. So as soon as I finished grad school, I moved to Atlanta. Like
Okay.
literally the next month. I finished in December, moved to Atlanta in January. It was time.
It was
It
time.
was time.
And how has that journey been in Atlanta?
It's been good. Like I feel like I'm exposed to opportunities that I don't think I would have been exposed to back in South Carolina. Not necessarily because of South Carolina, but just because of my mindset living back home.
Hmm.
So it's been a really good transition. I would have never thought of entrepreneurship in a way that I do if I wasn't in Atlanta, where you just see it. You see people that look like you doing things that you dreamed of doing, and that inspires you. I mean, and that's why I'm hoping that my story inspire other people, because it's a doable thing. It's very doable. It requires some discipline, but it's not something that's unattainable.
Exactly. Well, you know, they say Atlanta influenced everything.
Oh yeah, that's a true
It does.
statement.
We're the Black Hollywood here. Atlanta is. You know how I'm from New York, so you know how they say if you can make it here, you can make
Oh,
it
Yankee.
there. Right? Yeah. You know, everybody say New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Which you still can, but now it's like if you in Atlanta, if you can make it in Atlanta,
Listen,
you could make it anywhere. So
Atlanta has a lot of opportunity.
a lot, and that's one thing. I've been in Atlanta for 15 years, and
Oh wow.
so what I tell people, I've been here. I've seen the evolution of Atlanta. Well, not like how people say, but I seen it. So for me, I'm like, oh, this is the Black Hollywood. I need to hop on board. I need to get to it.
Right.
I need to get to it. I'm wasting time over here. Let me start my stuff. Let me hop on the bandwagon. Going into as you said, you studying mental health. I know that's one thing that's big with you, mental health. Uh,
Yes.
how did a franchise come about? What made you sit down and say, you know what, I want to get into franchising?
So it's funny. So we live in the Cascade area, and when we first moved in the Cascade area in 2014, there was an old abandoned area. It's now a Chick-fil-A. And when we would drive past that old abandoned area, we were like, something needs to go there. Like another restaurant would look really, really good there. It's funny that we literally said we would love to open a Chick-fil-A there. We said this in 2014. So at the time, this seemed like an unattainable goal. Like, we're never going to have enough money for a Chick-fil-A. We're never going to get the opportunity to do it. But we just kept sowing that same dream that we really wanted to open a Chick-fil-A there. So a few years later, a Chick-fil-A opens there, and we were like, okay, that's a sign. Like, we said a Chick-fil-A would do well there, and now there's a Chick-fil-A there. Like, what is that telling us?
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, we were like, we thought at the time, that's telling us we need to open a Chick-fil-A. So like, okay, perfect. We need to open a Chick-fil-A. So let's start looking into Chick-fil-A's. And we kind of went down that process. I don't know if you want to get there now, but we kind of went down a few different processes before
Oh,
we ended
I'm
up with Subway.
all because what I keep hearing as far as franchising, the number one thing that I hear all the time, all you need is $10,000. If I
Whew.
one more time, all you need is 10,000. All you need is 10,000, and people think that's it. Like, oh, if I get $10,000, I'm about to own 50 million franchises. And I'm like, so as you grow up, you start doing it. And then one time, me and my coworkers did research, and just a McDonald's was almost $500,000. And I'm like, where do y'all get this $10,000 from? So you could go ahead and discuss the whole journey, because we need to hear. It's so much behind this that people
Right.
really need to come in and say, hey, that $10,000 is probably for them to even pull your application.
Right. So we started out thinking we wanted to go the Chick-fil-A route. We started that process. We got denied by Chick-fil-A. And then we started saying, okay, Chick-fil-A is competitive, so we looked at Wendy's. Got denied by Wendy's.
Now let me cut you off real quick. So when you got denied, what was your finances looking like prior to applying? Like what did you come to the table with so people could know that?
When we applied, so Chick-fil-A has the $10,000 everybody keep talking about. Franchise companies will charge a fee just for you to open a franchise. That's just a fee. That doesn't actually include the cost for you to either build the building, the actual structure, or for you to purchase an existing business. So that franchise fee goes directly to the franchise company, and that is just a fee. Just like how you say it's almost like a fee just for them to even look at you. You come to the table with that fee. So that's where that $10,000 and Subway's fee, if you want to open a brand new Subway, their fee is $15,000. And then if you want to if you want to purchase an existing Subway, then that fee is $5,000. But they don't just want to see that you got the fee. Because just like how I said that when we first opened our business, we still were running off of personal money. So they want to know that you can not only open, but that you can sustain a business without any profit for a certain period of time. So if you come to the table, let's say their fee is $10,000, they may want to see 40, because they are going to want to know that once this business opens, that you have enough capital to get you over the hump that you're going to go through when you first open a business. So when we applied to Chick-fil-A, we had about $20,000 at the time, and we're thinking, oh, their fee is only $15,000, $5,000 extra. We're like, perfect. We're going to be a perfect candidate. Chick-fil-A's like, no, you don't. Right. Chick-fil-A's like, no, you don't have enough money. So we were like, that's strange. We're thinking like, okay, Chick-fil-A is competitive. So we started looking at other franchise companies. We looked at Zaxby's, we looked at Wendy's, and we looked at Smoothie King. All three of them consistently said the same thing. So what we went into it thinking was that even if you didn't have, so like Smoothie King's franchise fee is I think $30,000 or $35,000.
Smoothie King, that's small Smoothie King.
Right.
Wow.
30 or 35,000, and Wendy's, Zaxby's is somewhere around that, and I think Wendy's is somewhere around that too, around the $30,000 mark. So we went into it thinking, okay, we got about 20. Even if we don't have the full 30, we can finance and get a loan for the other amount. We're thinking that it's going to be that easy of a process. And it wasn't, because like I said, they want to see that you already have that money before you even get a loan to actually buy the business. They want to see that you already have that money in place. So once we got shot down by all those places, it kind of discouraged us, just like it would anybody. And we were like, okay, we had already been saving to get the 20,000. So we were like, let's just keep saving. We don't know what we're saving for. We don't know what we're going to do with the savings, but we're just going to keep saving, and we're going to put ourselves on a strict savings regimen. So that's what we did. So then we got married in 2018. And I'm like, it just don't feel right to have saved all of this money just for a wedding. So I was like,
say it again.
It just didn't feel right.
Say it again.
It just didn't.
No, we used that $30,000 on a wedding.
Right.
On a business. Say, thank you. We
ain't gonna look. Let me hurt your feelings a little bit. We spent too much.
Okay. Well, okay. Oh, you just stopped me real quick.
we spent about $25,000 on that. That wedding was about $25,000, and some of that was a loan, and then some of that we financed personally. So we were like, okay, we didn't clear our savings out, but we definitely took a hit getting married in 2018. So we were like, okay, let's get even more aggressive with our savings. So we got very, very aggressive with our savings in 2018, and we ended up saving $40,000. So we were like
40. So you were at 20 when you did the applications, right?
I was at 20 when we started the application for Chick-fil-A, which was around 2017.
Okay.
So that number had kind of continued to go up, from 2017 to 2019 when we really started the process with Subway. That number had continued to go up. We had always had a strict savings plan where we were saving and also paying down debt, working on credit. Um, and then the wedding, that was a debt that we took on, so paying that debt, but we strictly had a savings regimen. So
Ooh.
we started at 20,000 and around 2017. About the time we got to 2019, where we seriously looked at Subway, we were around 40.
First of all, send me that saving budget schedule, okay?
Yeah, listen,
For a
strict.
single person, save if y'all did. Send me that.
Listen, and still lived a good life. Like we didn't, there's some people that become minimalists to save a lot of money, like not really eating out. We still were going out, we still were having a good time, but savings was truly a bill. It was the very first bill that we paid. Even if it never got to this extreme, but I would let like a light bill or a cell phone bill go over my savings. Like savings was going to come out first, and whatever was left over was going to be disseminated amongst the bills. Like it was just that strict because we knew we were saving for something. So after the wedding, we continued saving, and then we were like, let's revisit the franchise thing. We applied to Subway franchising in 2019, the summer of 2019. And when we applied, it was a very aggressive process. Like as soon as you apply, well, a lot of them are this way. Once you apply, they want you to buy into the company. So someone will immediately reach out to you and say, hey, reach out to us. Hey, we want to talk to you. Subway did that. I didn't respond. I was like, not ready. Like, I'm not ready to really talk to them. So we kind of waited on it for a few months. And then in August of 2019, my job situation changed where I had a lot more flexibility. Um, and then Jeremy was in a position where he was ready to kind of transition from cake decorating. He was ready to do something different. So we said, now is the time. So we started the Subway process in September of 2019, and then the store opened in February of 2020.
Look at that. Look at I'm still listening like so another thing that people say is it true that Subway is the cheapest franchise to do?
Subway is the cheapest that we found. So we found Subway by design because we kept getting denied for money. And we were like, we got to find something cheaper. So we found Subway by design. And I do feel Subway is the cheapest one that I found. And I think that Subway can do that because there's so many Subways. There's about 44,000 Subways worldwide. Subway is in every country. So Subway has
You can find a Subway on the side of the road.
literally, Subway has a big enough presence to where they can subsidize, and Subway is 100% franchise owned. So other companies are a little bit different in their structure where some may be corporate, some may be franchise. Subway is 100% franchise owned,
Wow.
which is a good business model for them. They don't have to take on a lot of the responsibility that we have to take on as franchise owners. They can focus on growth, development, and those things. So Subway is definitely, if not the cheapest, one of the cheapest. I haven't found one that's more cheaper. And that was by design. We knew that ultimately we want to grow and do other franchises and other businesses, but we wanted to start with Subway because Subway gave us an opportunity.
How much was Subway coming in? I know you discussed Wendy's was 30. How much was Subway, especially getting it from an existing franchise?
In existing Subway, the franchise fee is $5,000.
Oh wow.
That's the franchise fee. So that is a fee that goes directly to Subway. You don't ever see that money again. It doesn't go towards any of your business or anything. That's just a fee that you pay Subway. It's like the cost of doing business.
Okay.
But when you purchase your actual store, that's a mortgage payment. because even if you're purchasing an existing store, that person started that business or that person acquired that business and has made it the business that you now want to buy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like buying a house. You're buying the traffic volume that they have cultivated. You're buying the reputation that they have made in the community. You know, you're buying their equipment that's in the store. You're literally buying that business on behalf of Subway's name.
Okay.
And that's a mortgage payment. So that, unless you just have that money sitting around, that is what you are going to need the loan for. But it's hard to get approved when you haven't had
Any type of.
and we got denied by all of the big banks: Wells Fargo, SunTrust,
Okay, so
Bank of America.
you have $40,000 in your bank account.
Yes.
All my viewers out there, you heard the $5,000 fee. Then he just said he had $40,000. So now that's, first of all, that's just stage one. That's just
Right.
that's just stage one. Now you're about to get into applying for a loan from the banks. And I know
Right.
you said you got denied from all the major banks. I know you're about to get into that. So let's talk about stage two now. Now you have to apply for a loan.
Right.
How did you have to, foresee?
How much should we have to apply for the loan for? We
So
applied for
then how much more were you looking for?
250,000.
250, comma 000.
Dot
And,
00.
and the reason why I said that because you just explained that, and I know some of my viewers like, okay, they say 45,000, I'm in the game. It's some more work to be done.
It's some more work to be done.
Okay, let's go ahead and continue diving in the bank part now.
So we went through the Subway process. The vetting process for Subway was easy. They had us take a test that was, it kind of tested general knowledge. I think the criteria for Subway is that you have to have at least a high school diploma and be at least 18 years of age. We both met that criteria. So getting approved through Subway was very easy. But Subway doesn't help you get a loan. And I think other franchise companies may have a different structure where they have specific relationships with banks so that once you get vetted through their process, you're automatically approved for a loan through a bank. I don't know, but Subway didn't.
Credit score you have to meet as well?
You know what? Honestly, and I have a really high credit score, and Jeremy has a pretty decent credit score. They didn't care about that. Like, the banks really cared about how much money that we had in the bank. And they wanted to know that if we give you this money, is it going to be a return on that investment? Are you going to be able to sustain the business? Are you going to be able to continue an operation? And that's the pushback that we got. So when we went to banks, the first thing they would say was a lack of industry experience.
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of weird to me because I said, well, if you only need a high school diploma to run a Subway, I have graduate education. Jeremy's been a cake decorator for 10 years working in that food establishment space. Is that not enough industry experience? Nobody would give us a chance. And I don't know if it was what we were coming to. I don't know if it was kind of who we were and how we were presented to people, if that impacted their decision. There were some banks, I won't say which ones, that directly said, y'all young, y'all may lose focus. And I'm like, anybody can lose focus. But banks really, nobody wanted to give us a chance. We had to go to a smaller local bank that we had to have a personal connection with and be personally introduced to a person that got us through.
Wow. And then finally, all you needed was somebody to give you a chance. And you did end up getting approved for the loan that you had. Now, what was that money going towards?
So that money was going towards the purchase of the Subway. So I had to actually purchase the business from the existing Subway owner.
That $40,000 didn't go into this.
The
It's
$40,000 was when I was approved. I was approved with them knowing the $40,000 was on the table.
wow.
But you have to keep into consideration 5,000 went towards
So
the Subway franchise. 2,500 had to go to the bank as kind of like a security deposit, almost like how they do with the mortgage. You put money in an escrow account. That was 2,500. We had to go to Subway for 2 weeks for training. We had that $40,000 had to go towards that. But that $40,000 is what got us approved because they wanted to see a certain amount before they approved their end. But we had to put kind of earnest money into it. We had to come to the table with our money before they would release their money.
mm-hmm. And that I'm taking notes as you're saying all of this in. Definitely the viewers there, this process, and that's why I feel like this interview was important because we just hear, oh, all you need is this, all you need is that. But Antwan here is basically breaking it down, and I know I keep asking like, do the breakdown because in people's mind, that's because you saved that 40,000, that's it, and there's more to the story. So also you said you had to purchase the business from the owner.
Right.
How did you get to Camp Creek? What made you choose Camp Creek?
So we live in the Cascade area, and at least with Subway, and I don't know if other franchises also recommend this, with Subway, they really want you to live close to your business, and it's been extremely beneficial. There's a few reasons because of that. So we live in this community, so we know this community, Southwest Atlanta, so we look for businesses that were in our community, and we really wanted to be in an area with people that look like us. Like, why else get that opportunity when we can do it? So we wanted to be in an area that had a high concentration of African Americans, like our area. And we know that Camp Creek is a growing area. There's a lot of construction going on with Camp Creek. A lot of people live, work, and play in Camp Creek.
Exactly.
We live, work, and play in Camp Creek. So we knew that Camp Creek store, for whatever reason, why they were selling it, regardless of the reason, because you always have to think, if you're buying an existing business, that person is selling it for a reason. If it was completely perfect, they would keep it. So there's something going on. So the seller is always going to give you, even a house in a lot of cases. If somebody's selling a house, it's like, okay, if this house is so amazing, why are you getting rid of it? That's how I would think about it. It's the same thing with the business. So they're going to give you a lot of reasons as to why they want to get rid of it. And then once you actually get into the business, you kind of learn more of like, okay, I see why you didn't want to deal with this anymore. But regardless, we were willing to take that risk because we know that Camp Creek is growing and it's not going to stop growing. So we're always going to be in a position where we have good foot traffic just because we're in Camp Creek.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you got with the owner. So another thing as well, Camp Creek is there. Now, when everything was finalized, so with the owner, everything was finalized. How was that relationship with the owner? Well, with the previous owner.
I think it was a business relationship. So I think they're an African American couple as well. They were a little bit older. It was a business relationship. I think that they gave us some advice, but I think they had a little bit of a different way of doing things. Like coming in, we had our own ideas, so we didn't really depend on them a lot for advice. But they gave us some advice, and it was kind of a business relationship. It wasn't that close relationship that you may have thought, but that wasn't necessarily to them. It was just kind of us. Like, we're coming into it like, we got this. Like, we'll let y'all know if we have any questions, but we got this.
Another thing that you said prior, let me piggyback off the finding the existing location. Does Subway let you know who's trying to get rid of the location, or you have to go do research yourself on that?
Yes, so they have a list that have everybody, and I want to say this list might be available for the public. I'm not sure. It's definitely available once you go through Subway's vetting process. So, like I said, you have to take an exam and you have to pass that exam. It's kind of general education stuff, you know. It's math with no calculator. Reading comprehension. I mean, it's high school stuff that you probably hadn't seen in forever. Once you pass that test, that's where the process starts, where they then will send you a list of everybody selling their store and what they're selling their store for in terms of the amount. And then that's it. Subway wash their hands with it. It's up to you to actually contact these owners, request the documents that you feel are important to help you make a good financial decision. Subway doesn't help you with that part of it. They kind of set it up to where, hey, we gave you the information and now you have to go out and do it. So we contacted maybe 3 or 4 different stores that
Mm-hmm.
we were interested in, and we looked at their financials. The one in Camp Creek was making the most money.
Okay.
It was making the most money. It also had the most amount of bills. Just because of where it is and the cost of rent and just the cost of living in that area compared to other locations. But we just felt like Camp Creek had the most opportunity for our first store. We really wanted our first store to be a store where we already got the foot traffic. All we have to do is work on other stuff. And Camp Creek offered that. We haven't had to do a lot of marketing to get people through the door.
Okay.
People are already coming through the door. What we had to really work on is making sure that once people do come through the door, they have a good experience so that they come back.
Now, did you have to hire a whole new team, or did some of the employees stay after?
So we, in the agreement, we agreed to acquire all of the staff, at least initially. So we acquired the existing staff. And I would say at least half of our staff now is still the existing staff. Some people moved on. I mean, change is hard. Like, we have different expectations. The previous business owners were older. They had been in the Subway business for like 30 years, so they had a different way of doing things. We're coming in, we both are 30 years old, we're young, we're hungry, we have a different way of doing things, and we just had different expectations. So some people moved on, but at least half our staff is still the original staff.
Some of the staff is still the original. Okay. Now, how that's been trying to communicate with, it's under different new management. So how was that coming in as new owners and you have some of the existing staff? How was that?
Hard. It's hard. It's definitely hard just because I don't know how much notice the staff had that there were new owners taking over. Um, there's it's not necessarily advised to completely let your staff know that you are selling a business, because from the current business owner perspective, then you may get in a position where a lot of your staff quit. And if that deal doesn't go through, then you're left with no staff. So from the current business owner's perspective, there's definitely a motive in not necessarily telling your staff that you're going to sell, because anything can happen with business. From our perspective, just coming in, we just had a different way of doing things. And then some people didn't even give the new way a chance. Some people immediately see change as, you know what, I'm not good with this. I'm gonna go find something else.
Mm-hmm. So that definitely, I can understand that. Somebody come in. First of all, I would want somebody to tell me my managers or ain't gonna be there no more. Like, don't just be bringing up this new person. Like, who is this?
Right, right.
Who is that? So everything is good now, of course,
Yes.
with the staffing. So I know in the beginning you talked about COVID-19 hitting. I know you said that was very difficult, and you pretty much had to run the business as if you ran a business for 20 plus, 5 plus, 10 plus years. So
Right.
what are you going to do now? So now that this pandemic happened, a lot of businesses never even set up emergency stash, like an emergency savings in case this happened again in the next 2-3 years. Like,
Mm-hmm.
now a lot of businesses are now leaning towards like, okay, like I never thought this was happening. My business crashed. It was about to fail. Now we have a extra stash here to the side. How important is that to now with you and your husband to create a whole emergency plan in case something like this happened again?
Very important. We're savers anyways, so saving is just something we do in our personal finances, and our business finances aren't going to be any different.
Mm-hmm.
We were already planning to save a lot of money so that we could pay the loan off quicker, so that we don't owe money to anybody. So I think that COVID-19 has really made us realize how much more vital savings is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really helped us to kind of focus on what's really important. I think a lot of times when you kind of, especially when you take over a business, you want the bells and whistles, you want everything to be nice, you want to give it your touch, but that may not be the most important thing right then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we were. We really wanted to spend money on certain things that it just wasn't smart for us to spend money on those things at that time. So definitely to create just a good savings and really have that money sitting, because that's important. Like anything can happen. When we first went in, every equipment in that store, pretty much every equipment has malfunctioned at some point. The freezer broke, the toaster broke, the ice machine broke.
While you were there?
Yeah, since we within the first 30 days, every equipment was just breaking every week. And to have somebody come out there for repairs is like now you taking on a repair cost.
And
You
once
know,
coming out your personal.
that's coming out of your personal finances. So again, you take over a business, it's a reason why somebody is selling a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just coming in, like, that was something that I had to really learn. Was that when you go into a business, you can't just go in with what you need. You always gotta have a little bit extra, because you never know what you're gonna run into.
Oh, I'm over here like. So the crazy thing is that I'm
Let
getting.
me get some light. It's getting dark.
Go ahead. So the malfunction, and then also to the viewers out there, it's very important. As I stated before, the fact that you have to go through these trial and errors, and two, so this is my next question as well. When you took out the loan, right? When you got it,
Yes.
you good. When you had took out the loan, and they pretty much said that you won't see a profit for the first year.
Yeah.
So break that down. So if I came in, you already took out almost a quarter million, pretty much. You said a quarter
Mm-hmm.
million loan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got a quarter million loan. Just to recap, I know some people just came in. Franchise owner of Subway, saved $40,000, 5,000. That scratched that out. Had to take out a $250,000 loan. So where is that $250,000 loan for your living expenses too? Like how you pay your bills or everything? Oh,
Mm-mm.
and then they're telling you might not see a profit for almost a year.
Yeah.
How is that?
So when you think of seeing a profit, you have to take in mind that a profit, so in terms of the money that we make from Subway, that's covering some living expenses. But when you think of profit, you think of things outside of those living expenses, like extra money. A lot of people have said that it'll be a year. That's what our bank advised us, before you really start seeing money, just because when you first start, you start in the hole, and you literally are having to dig yourself out of this hole that you in. And
Mm-hmm.
that can take a year, because you want to save money. You don't want to just have $10,000 in a bank. What if your oven break? A new oven is $7,000, and then you still got to pay your employees. A commercial oven, a new Subway commercial oven is $7,000, because we looking at one. So you got to save money. You have to have a good amount of savings put to the side, So that's all factored into that. You may not make a profit because the profit that you do make, you want to put that in savings. You want to pay a few extra loan payments to get rid of your loan. Like you want to do other things to set yourself up in a position of financial freedom. And a profit is going to be the last thing on your mind, especially in that first year. Just to cut lights on, Georgia Power charged us $2,000 security deposit just to cut the lights on. Good credit, new business, it's already an existing business, it's already lights here, $2,000 just to cut the lights on. You know, those are the kind of startup expenses that you have to encounter that it's like, I would have never thought Georgia Power, I think I had to pay $100 to cut my lights on at the house. I would have never thought I had to pay this amount to cut the lights on.
It's the deposit you said, right?
Right.
We're not even talking about the monthly.
We're not even talking about the monthly. That's just in order for them to cut it on, that's $2,000.
And we don't sit here and calculate all of these things right here. You telling me, I didn't even think about the light bill. I just would have been serving sandwiches.
Comcast had a startup fee too. In order for you, because you got to have a phone. You got to have, one of those regular house phones, and you got to have internet. At least with Subway, and I would imagine with other franchises, the cash register is internet operated. So you have to have internet, and you got to have a phone.
And imagine if the internet cut off because of something, then you have to start taking cash. And
right.
This is very, very resourceful. I know some people had a few questions. One person said, "What ideas did you have?" You said the previous owner, they're old school. So what new ideas did you have for the Subway business?
We really want to be involved in the community. And that's why I'm so upset about COVID-19, because we really had a lot of plans to be involved this summer, but, plans delayed are not plans at all. So we really want to be involved in the community. We don't feel like the previous owners had as much community investment. And I don't know why that is. They didn't live in this community. I think they used to at some point, but they didn't currently live in the community. But we really want to have relationships with schools. We really want to do some philanthropy work, and we really want to give back. We really wanted to create an opportunity for the community in a way that we didn't feel was already being done, because those community relationships turn into customers. And that grows your business. So that was probably the biggest thing that we wanted to do. We run our business like a Fortune 500 company. I lie to you not. And if you ask our employees, they probably would tell you the same thing. Even though it's just working at Subway, we really treat it like a Fortune 500 company.
As you should.
Paperwork, budgets, the way that we communicate with our employees, we raised the pay for most of the employees that stayed behind, especially the full-time employees that stayed behind. We do performance evaluations. Like, we really have done a lot because we want the best of the best on our team. And we want to be a Fortune 500 company one day where we have a lot of businesses under our umbrella. So we're going to start it off like a Fortune 500 company. We have monthly meetings with just the two of us for right now, where we strategize where we are business-wise. We create minutes. We sign off on it. We do, Robert Rules of Order. Like, we really create and make it a real business. And we run it that way so that once we do grow, there's no adjustment. We've already been doing this. This is already the way that we do things.
No bank's gonna deny you. Don't waste your
Right.
I got everything in order right here.
We got everything in order. When banks come and want to see, we can show them when they want to see what's your plan. These are our last year of monthly minutes from our monthly meetings, that where we talk about what we plan to do, what business we plan to go into, the marketing that we've already kind of done a little bit, the research that we've done. We can show them how serious we are, and the financials, impeccable. Like, we keep in track of every cent that we have coming in and going out and why it's coming in and going out. So that was mainly the thing, just the community involvement, because I see so much potential with that. Just a short period of time now that we went viral, people from the community like are really coming supporting us. We literally
How
can
is that?
see
Like, do you have people coming in there saying, "Hey, I seen y'all on Facebook"?
every day. Every day. Jeremy's picture was the one that went viral. So not as much when I'm in the store and I'm not there as much as he is. Every day, at least 3 to 5 people are coming in saying that they saw him, asking to take pictures with him, posting about it. So now the community knows that we're there. And they know that it's not somebody that doesn't look like them getting paid. It's somebody that look like them or look like somebody they know that is getting a benefit from that business, so they want to patronize it. I'm big on that. Black-owned businesses all day. When we got married, every vendor we used was a black-owned business. That was a commitment we made.
Ooh,
Every single business that we used, the only thing that wasn't black-owned, the venue was women-owned. The
okay.
venue wasn't black-owned, but every other vendor was black-owned, and that was something that we really felt strongly about. So the community is supporting us.
You got so how was that feeling? Like, I know you love it. Like, how was that feeling that you have like everything that you work for, saving the money, taking out loans, doing this, and to have people recognize your passion, have people recognize you in the community. You have people coming up to you or Jeremy saying, "Hey, I've seen y'all going viral." I drove, even though I work in the Camp Creek area. I live in
Right,
right.
right.
Murder. And I believe I was sitting there one day and I said, I was scrolling on Facebook. I was my business. I was Facebook scrolling and somebody I follow reposted a guy who took a picture and I said,
Yeah.
I know them. I know them. I drove all the way from Smyrna to Camp Creek, and that's about a 25, it's less than 30 minutes, but it's a 25-minute ride just to meet to purchase a $7.
Right. So many people have done that though. So many people have come. Like, I literally passed 5 subways just to get here. So many people have done that.
And that's and another thing too is even though COVID-19 is here, and I know you said you wanted to get out more in the community. Look how the community is coming to you. You
They're
know,
coming.
they're,
They're coming.
they're coming. So yeah. So when I went there, you and Jeremy wasn't there. Like I bust through the door like I was VIP. I was like, Jeremy or Antwan here? They're like, no. I'm like, somebody said we had lunch there today. Such an amazing story. We love you guys. Somebody just said that in the comments just now.
Oh, perfect.
Yes. So number one, just to do a small recap. So somebody's who was looking at this live. What advice would you give them to like somebody who's starting? I know saving is number one. I know that part.
Sure.
But what advice would you give a young entrepreneur? Because you're 30, I'm 28. But a lot of the viewers are in that same. My viewers are in that same age bracket. What advice would you give someone who doesn't have anything yet, and this is something that they always wanted to do?
What I would really tell people is to first do your research. So that's just with anything. First, really do your research. And then the key is that everything is not going to happen right away. And just with anybody who has any level of success will tell you that you have to be told no a few times before you're told yes. So when you are first starting out, you're going to be told no and you're going to be shot down. But not to let that discourage you, that you really have to continue to persevere beyond that. And you have to understand that every goal isn't going to happen right away. I told you that we've been talking about this since 2014. And when we talked about it in 2014, when we wanted to open that Chick-fil-A on Cascade, that was a real goal that we had that we never thought would come true. But we didn't lose that goal as the years went on. There were things that were put in our life. When that Chick-fil-A opened up, we were like, okay, this is a sign about something. Like, we literally said a Chick-fil-A should be there. That's telling us something. So every goal is not going to happen in the next 30 days, in the next year. And I think when I talk to a lot of people, and I tell people we started the process during the summer of 2019, I don't want people to think that that's the first time we started thinking about it. We've
Mm,
been saving for 5 years,
mm.
over 5 years, actually, closer to well, about 5 years. We've been saving. So there was money that we could use to do that. So if you know that you have a goal and if you know entrepreneurship is what you want to do, but you don't know exactly what it is, I would have never thought that we would have opened a Subway. I go to Subway as a customer. Jeremy hadn't really been to the brand like that. A lot of our friends that now support our business have kind of stopped going to the brand. So Subway wasn't really on my radar, but I was saving for something. So the first thing is going to be to start saving. I always tell people there was a point where when we moved here in 2014, making very little money, but we were saving something, even if it's $25 a paycheck. That's $1,200 in a year that you save towards some goal. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, for me, I start out saving small, and it's like a game. Like, okay, now I'm gonna do 20. I'm gonna start doing $27. Okay, now I'm gonna do $31. That's literally what I started doing, and it really became a game where I was challenging myself to how much money can I really save. And then now that I've reached my goal, I'm still saving, but I'm not as aggressive. I can be a little bit more relaxed. Even though I have more goals, savings is just part of what I do.
And then
So
you were working a 9 to 5.
I was working a 9 to 5.
People feel like, well, I just work this simple 9 to 5, and it's not like I'm making 80K a year. So you were still working an average paying job.
Very average paying job. Still am. Still am.
Still
Still
was
working a
able to save that amount of money.
Yeah. But you figure over the course of 5 years, once I started increasing that savings goal, so now I'm doing, at one point I'm like, okay, now I can do $100 every time I get paid. So now that's $200 a month. And just kept increasing that and just kept kind of stretching myself. That's the biggest thing. Is just saving that money. Of course, you want to do things like working on credit. Credit isn't as important. As long as you have decent credit, you don't have to have the highest credit score.
Mm-hmm.
At no point, the banks that denied us didn't do it because of credit. They did it because they didn't feel like we had enough experience. They looked at our profile, they looked at who we were, and felt like we didn't fit into being these successful entrepreneurs. And that's unfortunate because look at how many opportunities that could hold people back from. But the credit score, I mean, you want to work on things like credit, but I think the biggest thing is just saving and just really giving yourself time to recognize that this goal may not happen today. It may not happen a year from now, but if I continue to work towards something, that goal is going to be achieved.
Exactly. And you know what other stream of income I see you doing? Business consulting.
Yeah, hustling, hustling.
That's
I
a
mean,
but I know you that have people come up to you like, how did you do this? I need to know. I need to know. Because like I said, when you see someone who's in the same bracket as you, it's even more inspiring. We're used to seeing people who are 50 and up, 40,
right, right.
establish all these things. Like I said, to have someone like you who look just like me, everyone is like, how did you do it? We know we're expecting to hear, like, a lot of people expect to hear this miracle story, this and that, and yours is simple. Research, save, speak life into existence, and stay on it. So like I said, I see business consulting coming within a year.
Yes, I received that.
Yes, I can see you now. Sure, if you have all these people coming up to you, be like, okay, I got you. I need this, I need that. I am so, one thing I would say, me meeting you in February, I'm still in awe now. The same reaction I had then is the same now. And thank you so much for, number one, beating the odds. Thank you so much for
I'm in awe.
up.
I'm still in awe. Honestly, like even, and so is Jeremy. The funny thing is that we really didn't have time to soak it in because as soon as the business started, it was, things just happening right away. And then COVID-19 happened, so we had to respond to that. So we never really had that chance to sit back and just pinch ourselves like, are we really doing this? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in awe. And
Still,
it's funny because when people, the perception of success that people have, just like anything, like I don't see it. I feel like we're doing regular stuff sometimes, and it'll be people that will come up to us and that will just help us recognize like this isn't regular, like this is something big. But to us, it's just because it's always been the goal and it's finally coming true, it's just always been what we were working towards. So now that we've achieved it, it's like, okay, this is what we're working towards. So it's funny that we don't always see it the way that other people see it, which
mm-hmm.
is humbling though. Like it makes us like, okay, we got to do something else. Like we got to keep going. When are we getting our next store? Which we're in conversations about. What is going to be our next
Is it
business?
gonna be a next Subway?
I think we'll do another Subway. We definitely want to branch out into other brands, but Subway is not a hard operation. We feel like we've really mastered Subway, even in a short period of time that we have. So it would be very easy to take on another Subway. And then I feel like even in terms of securing financing, we've already kind of demonstrated success with Subway. So Subway, the next business venture will probably be another Subway, but there's definitely other brands that we interested in.
What's another one you looking at?
We have looked at like Zaxby's for sure. We still have looked at Smoothie King. Huh?
Have y'all looked at Boosters?
We haven't, but the funny thing is the previous owner of the Subway owns a Brewster's. The Brewster's on this side of town.
Okay, that's because I know somebody mentioned Boosters.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we haven't really looked in and done the research with Brewster's, but I'm definitely open to it.
Yeah, you got me doing research. Cause when I see McDonald's and I see $500,000, I said, let me close my screen. Not up my alley. So, I forgot Instagram tell us that we have 2 minutes remaining on this live. Once again, Antwan, sorry Jeremy could not be here, but Antwan, you have definitely, like, I know my views out there are making comments like very informative. This is inspiring. If you still want to reach out to Antwan, and his information will be on my page. If you have any questions for him, any if you want to tell him thank you or any type of
Yes.
advice, I know you're still willing to take advice too. Anything that
For sure. And I want more people like me doing this. It's
yes.
even in the Subway brand, the representation, just even in the Atlanta market, which you would expect to look more brown and more young, it's just not. I
Yes.
just have not seen a lot of people like me in the Atlanta area owning Subways. So I want to help more people.
Yes.
And like you said, I want to take advice too.
Somebody said I need that savings. Don't forget that savings plan. Savings plan. I know we got 55 seconds left. Thank you so much, Antwan, for coming in to BAUCE Radio to discuss. This is very important information, and thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, and we definitely want to come back and do some
Oh, you
updates.
want to see me? I'm gonna text you before I even pull up the Subway.
Please do.
All
Please
right.
do.
Thank you, love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.